Thank you. Thank you so much, Glenna. And again, it's my pleasure to join everyone this evening. And here we are, 6 weeks later, wrapping up this little 6 week journey here. I'm excited. I hope you all have been enjoying the journey. I just put my contact information in the chat. I put my website in there as well as my email in case anyone is interested in following up with me one-on-one. I'm available to do so. And you'll notice when you go to my website that I have information on there about health as well as about wealth. Because in addition to my work in the nutrition arena, I also work in finance. I am a licensed life, health, disability, and annuities broker. And I decided to wed the two because you can't really enjoy the fruits of your work if you're not healthy. I know we've all seen people reach their senior years and then fall apart. They're not able to really enjoy the monies that they've been putting away consistently over the years. And it's a shame. It's a shame because if they could trade in the wealth that they had for a return to health, they would do that in a heartbeat. And we want to be able to have both. That's why I decided to work in both arenas because I said we have to have both. We have to have our health intact as well as having our finances intact. So as we mature, we have no regrets about the decisions that we made in life. And I hope that's something that resonates with everyone here, because, we don't want to end up with the typical dietary and disease problems that folks end up with. And we're talking about heart disease, we're talking about diabetes, we're talking about stroke, we're talking about cancers, all the top things that end up destabilizing our lives in our later years. So I want us to be able to build our wealth and keep our health intact, and 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 if we are actually following up with the things that we're doing here on this platform, it is so totally doable. The average person spends by the time they reach 50, they'll end up having to spend about $350,000 just to maintain good health. And a lot of times that's because of some kind of catastrophic occurrence in their health that suddenly just causes everything to go left. And that's not where we want to end up. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that a good 65% of Americans are eating processed foods. So it's no wonder, because it's a vicious cycle. You end up eating processed foods that leads to obesity. The obesity leads to you end up in the healthcare system. The healthcare system folds you onto the drug system. The drug system then forces you to have to push the insurance rates up, and you're paying all along that line. So that's not where we want to go. So I just want to remind everybody where we started in terms of what it was that we were doing. We started at the very beginning. So I just wanted to do a little overview of the basics, because if we can remember the basics that I started out with, then you're so far ahead of the game. Because like I said in the beginning, I don't want this to be a highly technical type of a subject that, goes in one ear and out the other, and it's not practical for us. So when we talked about the basics in the very beginning, we talked about the importance of sunshine, right? And I just want a little feedback from you all, because I know I've been kind of layering this as we go. So somebody just give me one reason why sunshine is important. That's one reason why we said that sunshine is important.
Vitamin D.
Absolutely. Vitamin D. Absolutely. And we have to respect the circadian cycle of the sun. We want to get up early in the morning when the sun comes up. if we're not working a nighttime job, and if we are working a nighttime job, we want to work on switching that around so we can get back in rhythm. But we also talked about the fact that during those early morning hours, we want to try and get some sunshine in because those blue rays, those natural blue rays of the sunlight are prevalent during those first 3 hours of sunrise from sunrise. And those blue rays are actually stimulating the body to make the melatonin that's going to be released in the evening. The melatonin is actually made in the early morning. It's then released later on at night. So we want to make sure that we're respecting that circadian cycle. So if we get up, we get that sunshine in the early part of the day, go out, take a walk. If we're out running, if we're heading to the subway, get some sunshine on your face. But that's going to help you with the sleep cycle later on. We talked about the importance of oxygen. Why is oxygen so important? Or where do we get it from? Because we're going to go do some of that exercise this evening and we're going to inhale that oxygen, and that oxygen is going to help energize us. We talked about water, right? We need water in our bodies, right? What do we need water in our bodies for?
Hydration.
Absolutely, we need hydration. And we also know that electricity, and part of our body is very much electric and magnetic. Electricity moves very fast and very easily through a watery environment, right? That's why you have to get out of the ocean if there's a thunderstorm, because that electricity is going to travel right through there and electrocute you out there in the water, right? So it causes our electrical system inside of our body to process, our nervous system to be able to process and function, keeps our brain hydrated. Our brain is like 85% water. We need to have it hydrated, and that's something that's easy enough to do. And I would say to get in the average amount of water that you need, take your body weight, divide that in half, turn that into ounces. That gives you a rough idea in terms of how much water you're supposed to be taking in during the day. So we want to keep ourselves hydrated. After the water, of course, we talked about making sure that we eat good food. We want to have um, good food in our body. We want some raw foods and we want some cooked foods. We want some raw foods because we got enzymes in those foods. It's going to help us to break down the meal. Otherwise it's harder for the body to digest it. We want to make sure that we have raw foods and cooked foods. And we want to make sure we have some supplements because everybody's kind of missing a little this, a little that in terms of just what they came into the world with. So taking a good multivitamin, taking a good multi-mineral vitamin, making sure you're getting those little extra supplements that can help you with whatever deficiencies you might have, right? And then we want to make sure that in addition to just getting our supplements in, that we're doing quality of life things, right? So we talked about making sure that we do things like trying to turn off our electronic devices, at a certain time in the evening. So we're not getting hit with all that artificial blue light and it's keeping us up and, it's disrupting our sleep cycle. So doing things like turning off your electronic devices, maybe, 2 hours, before bedtime. So, a lot of times folks are like, okay, so if I turn off the TV and I turn off the computer and I put my phone down, okay, now what? Now what do I do? We've gotten so accustomed to the TV being the soundtrack of our lives. It's just always on. It's just always like making noise in the background. Like, well, what do we do if we turn all that off? Well, I have a few ideas. We can do something like, let me look at my little list of things. I was making a list of things of what we can do, whether we're by ourselves or whether we're with our family members, right? So family time, farming some family time. We can read out loud, right? Especially if you have children in the house. Having them read out loud is helpful for them, even if they're a little shy about doing it in the beginning, or yourself reading, whether it's a novel, whether it's a biography about somebody's life you're always curious about, whether it's something historically related, even if it's a magazine, just taking some time out to read instead of scrolling. Scrolling is so easy. We get this just, we've gotten kind of lazy about just being able to just read. We have things like engaging in some quality interactions with our kids, like non-electric board games, like chess, like checkers, like Monopoly, like whatever kind of games, you want to play. I remember when I was a kid, we had a whole cabinet where we just had different board games for like rainy days when we wanted to do something. We had board games. Then we have things like calling a family member. A lot of times we're in the habit of just texting, and it's not quite the same. It's not the same at all of having a conversation. Picking up the phone and calling maybe a family member that we haven't spoken to in a while, a friend we haven't spoken to in a while. We've got a phone, some of us have hundreds of numbers in our phone. And how many people do we actually talk to and just engage in just massaging our relationships with each other? And of course, you want to call somebody that hopefully you're kind of cool with, especially if it's in the evening, because you don't want to have an argument with somebody and then have to go try and go to sleep all worked up because you all said something to each other that you shouldn't have said. So, relaxing kind of conversations. And then we have also, so sorry. Then we also have your own karaoke night, whether it's just you playing music that you enjoy, that you can sing to, or whether you make it a family event, just playing music and having family members get up and sing. That's something that, we can enjoy. People get enjoyment out of it, even if it's dancing, turning on some music and let's dance. Whatever it is that your family kind of vibes with, try that. Then we also have um giving yourself a facial or giving each other facials. And you can include children in this too. They like to do things that they see you do. Self-care, things like even just taking a bubble bath or a mineral salt bath, and kids too. Kids like bubble baths, kids like, a salt bomb in their tub, you know, time to just be able to relax, even journaling, spending, 15 minutes, 30 minutes just writing, whether it's a poem, whether it's just your thoughts, reflections on what's going on in your world, internally, externally, we can do that, and we're talking about 2 hours, right? You'd be surprised how fast those 2 hours go by, but it's giving you an opportunity to reestablish a reconnection with family members, with friends, and with yourself. Just kind of getting back. We are so used to working, 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 working. We're on that treadmill, we're on that hamster wheel so much. And then we come home and we don't even know what to do with ourselves. So we just hit the remote, right? Because we just can't even think of anything else that we want to do, but there are other things that we can do with our time, and we should start doing. We should start making more interpersonal connections, especially now, the environment, the social political environment that's going on. We want to be able to have conversations, constructive conversations, and maybe even do some brainstorming. And if you're by yourself and you don't necessarily have someone that you're engaging with, there are always those meetups. You can go to social media to find out about meetups where people that have things in common with you go to connect. So, just getting outside of your usual um, sphere of activity and putting yourself in another environment where you can actually connect with other people that you automatically have some things in common with can be very helpful and very beneficial. So these are just a few activities that can just kind of help get us grounded and allow us to unplug for a while, because it's important to be able to unplug. It's important to our mental and emotional and spiritual well-being to unplug. That's important to your health as well. And I know that since we are coming up to the end of our 6-week journey here, this is the 6th week, some of us may have accomplished our weight goals. Some of us may not have accomplished our weight goals. If you haven't accomplished your weight goals, what I don't want you to do is beat up on yourself. What I don't want you to do is start having negative self-talk about you're not accomplishing your goals yet. It's just a yet, right? Because some of these things take a little bit of time to make adjustments with. So I want you to be compassionate with yourself and know that, well, you've got another 6 weeks that you can, restart, do it over again and, do an assessment of what you may not have done enough of at all and recommit and let's get at it again. What I what I really don't want you to do, in addition to just not beating up on yourself, I don't want you to think in terms of taking shortcuts, right? When I say taking shortcuts, I mean drugs that are available on the market, and I'm talking about surgeries that are available, because I know people do get frustrated with themselves and they want to throw in the towel and they want to take a shortcut. But those shortcuts come with a price, and those prices can be quite hefty. I know we haven't talked about it, but I just want to share with you some of the challenges of taking those kind of shortcuts. So if we're talking about um, drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy, you know that Ozempic was designed for diabetics to help them reduce their blood sugar. And one of the side effects was a dramatic drop in weight loss. People lost weight very rapidly on Ozempic. And, of course, people that noticed that said, hey, I'm not diabetic, but I want to lose some weight. And they started taking it. They started having their doctors prescribe it for them, even though they weren't diabetics. And of course, that became a problem for diabetics because a lot of folks in the weight loss, people who are trying to lose weight, a lot of celebrities started doing it because they were able to get their physicians to write them these prescriptions, even though they weren't diabetic, and it just became a thing. But it was never approved as a weight loss um, supplement or a weight loss drug. So the additional side effects or direct effects of taking the drug for a large percentage of people that are taking Ozempic, there's nausea, there's vomiting, there's diarrhea. Those are very, very common symptoms of taking Ozempic or Wegovy, both of them. Also, you have paralysis of the stomach, paresis, where the stomach won't empty. That's a major problem. The stomach won't empty. It seizes it up. Bowel obstruction is a very common symptom of taking those drugs. Pancreatitis, which can be deadly, and that's designed to prevent diabetes. But you can get an inflammation, of course, of the pancreas taking that. One of the other challenges of using Ozempic is that a lot of the weight loss is of the muscles, right? Instead of burning fat, muscle tissue is being lost. And that creates other complications because, as we talked about before, we have an abundance of mitochondria in the muscle tissue. And the mitochondria, of course, we know makes energy, right? So you're going to have a lack of energy. You're also going to create problems for your blood sugar because, as we know, muscle tissue is what's absorbing that glucose that's in the blood. There was a client in the medical practice that I had for many years. Whenever his blood sugar was up, he would just exercise. He would stop what he was doing rather than he didn't want to go on drugs, and he would exercise, right? And that would bring his blood sugar levels down. Why? Because the muscles are using that glucose that's in the bloodstream. So taking Ozempic and it reducing the amount of muscle mass that you have, it becomes a problem, and it starts complicating the diabetic condition that you're trying to avoid. So a lot of this is, as you can hear, problematic. And one of the other things that happens is that once you stop taking Ozempic, guess what happens? The weight comes right back. So you have to stay on it in order to keep that weight off. And we're talking about maybe $1,600 a month for it with those side effects. So shortcuts like that have a heavy, heavy price to pay, regardless of how glamorous it looks on the Hollywood scene and how rapid it takes place. It the price that you have to pay, I don't think it's worth it. Personally, I don't think it's worth it. Exercise, lifestyle modifications, dietary modifications is really all it takes for you to accomplish your goals. Because as you're actually exercising, you're actually burning fat. And one of the big pluses in actually burning fat is that you also are eliminating toxins because a lot of times your body will store toxins in the fats. In a, because your body has its own intelligence and your body says, okay, I'm not going to store these toxins in the organ tissues. So rather than allowing it to just float around, it will push toxins into your fat reserves. So as you burn off fats, you're releasing a lot of the toxins that are being stored in those fat reserves. So your body has its own intelligence. That Ozempic, Wegovy, and the gastric sleeves and surgical procedures, it's not necessarily working in harmony with the whole body system. It's not working in harmony with the body system at all. It's just a shortcut, and that shortcut does have consequences to it. So I just wanted to wrap up with those reminders that you are a success. You just showing up here week after week, that's half the battle. Just showing up is half the battle. So for all of you who have participated, I am exceedingly, exceedingly proud of you all. I'm super excited and continue. You have access to this platform, the school platform. You can always review any of the lectures that I put up. You can also go back and work out with Carmen and work out with George. And there's nothing that says that you only need to work out once a day or twice a week. You can turn this on every day and get your workout in and bump it up. Just bump it up a little bit more. So I want to just say thank you so much for the pleasure of being able to be here with you. If anybody has any questions, I'm open. I think I still have a few minutes here to entertain any questions that y'all might have. Any comments? How's this weight loss journey been for you?
It's been going well. I've lost a few more pounds, and I've just been learning some things. I know you spent a good amount of time talking about the mitochondria, and so and the circadian rhythms and things like that. So I'm learning terminology from you that I wasn't as familiar with.
I'm glad.
Liz agrees. Anybody else agree?
It's really important to know your why, why it is that you're doing, and sometimes what's going on, during the process.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here with you all. And Carmen, you have got the floor.